So we come together today to remember the Nakba, Arabic for catastrophe. We remember the suffering of over 750,000 Palestinians who were forced from their homes and have never been allowed to return. And we come together to honor all of the ancestors, to pray and to move our feet and to educate ourselves. And I'm very grateful that we will be listening to Lebanese, Palestinian, and Solidarity voices today as we begin to prepare ourselves for this moment of opening to the wisdom of Dr. Mazin Qumsiyeh. Professor Qumsiyeh has devoted his life to working for the liberation of Palestine. He is a Palestinian Christian, a distinguished Palestinian American academic, researcher, and advocate for social justice, currently serving at Bethlehem University. He and his wife Jessie founded the Palestine Institute for Biodiversity and Sustainability, a leading organization in conservation and sustainable development in Palestine. Prior to that, Professor Qumsiyeh taught at Duke and Yale University and has published hundreds of articles and many books on diverse topics. Please join me in welcoming him here today to talk about the Nakba, the history and the meaning for him today.
Thank you, Judy. It's hard to know where to begin. Perhaps I should begin by telling you that for me, what my personal thoughts on this day as it transpires. From the morning I got up at like 5:30 or 6 o'clock in the morning, and now it's 7:10. I've been running around, including I did get a chance to go to the garden, work in the garden, reconnect to the land. But in all of this, the thoughts on such a day are always with loved ones we have lost. And in this case, especially my mother was dominant in my mind as I went through the day, because my mother, who died 3 years ago, almost exactly 3 years ago, she died almost on the Nakba day, but she died just a few weeks after the anniversary of the massacre of Deir Yassin, in which she lost her best friend in school and fellow teacher by the name of Hayab al-Bisi. They were both like 17 or 18 years old in 1948. And Hayab al-Bisi was not as lucky as my mother. She went to her village to be with her students, and she was butchered with her students. One of over 35 massacres committed between January 1948 and May 1948. The massacres were calculated to drive the Palestinians out of their homeland, because the idea was to take a country that was multi-ethnic, multicultural, multi-religious country and make it into the Jewish state of Israel. And that entails ethnic cleansing and genocide, of course. So over 530 villages and towns, including Deir Yassin, were ethnically cleansed basically in this short period of time. This is what we refer to as the beginning of the Nakba. It is not the Nakba as like a single historical event, because the Nakba is ongoing. Every day there's a Nakba literally means catastrophe, and it's a catastrophe of ethnic cleansing and genocide that has been accompanying our lives now for 4 generations. Since the founding of this apartheid racist regime in our country that's called the State of Israel. And this apartheid regime has partially succeeded and partially failed. Partially succeeded, of course, in removing, as I said, 534 Palestinian communities, villages, and towns from historic Palestine, including towns that are mentioned in the Bible, ethnically cleansing the area of much of its population. Today, as a result of this actions over the past 7, 8 decades almost now, we have 15.5 million Palestinians, 8.5 million of us are refugees or displaced people found throughout the area of our region, Western Asia and North Africa, the Arab world, and also some refugees in countries like the United States and Europe, etc. But anyways, since a majority of us are refugees or displaced people, obviously international law was very clear that Palestinian refugees have a right to return to their homes and lands and be compensated also for their suffering. This has not happened because Israel is above international law. Israel is engaged in war crimes and crimes against humanity and does not have to face international law because it has great powers behind it, the US government, the British government, the French government, the German government, and so on. But to go back to my own personal thoughts on this day, as I remembered that my mother, even on her last day on earth, she remembered her friend, the martyr Hayab al-Bisi, who never got to grow up like her mother to an old age. My mother lived to 91 years old. So anyways, Hayab al-Bisi died when she was like 17 years old, was killed by the Zionist militias. But, you know, she's one of nearly 500,000 Palestinians who were butchered in the last almost 8 decades of this ongoing Nakba. Now, when I said this partially successful, partially failed, why do I say that? Because, as I said, partially successful because I succeeded in forming their so-called Jewish state, even though it has nothing to do with Judaism, has to do with colonialism and racism, Zionism, but certainly not Judaism. But they didn't succeed in their original goal, which is a monolithic state, which is all Jewish, Jewish culture, Jewish language, Jewish religion. Palestine, still between the river and the sea, has 7.5 million Palestinian indigenous people, Christian, Muslim, Baha'i, and Druze, and atheists, if you want. But that's who we are, a pluralistic society, and we stubbornly cling to our land, and we did not allow the full ethnic cleansing as was intended. And it was intended not just for Palestine, but the Greater Israel Project, which is the Nile to the Euphrates, of course, includes parts of Egypt, Saudi Arabia, what's now Saudi Arabia, Lebanon, Syria, parts of Iraq, and so on, Jordan, all of Jordan. So they have failed in this mission, so to speak. And the reason for the failure is our resistance, resilience, persistence, etc. These are all collectively called in our Arabic language sumud. Sumud means a combination of these things, basically. Hard to translate into one English word, but it's a combination of resilience, resistance, persistence, etc. Now, why is Palestine unique? And this Nakba, ongoing Nakba for the past 78 years, why is it so important to the rest of the world? Why is it talked about in the rest of the world? I'm sure, Trump and those guys going to China, they were talking about Palestine and the fact that they are fighting a war for Israel, fighting a war with Iran that's causing basically an economic collapse around the world. And already oil prices today went up another 4%. So inflation is coming big time around the world. It's all thanks to this problem, if you want. So why is that? It's because for very simple, pragmatic reasons, really. One is that this is a holy land for half of the world population, Muslims and Christians, 2 billion each approximately, consider this a holy land. So they're not going to let it become a rogue apartheid Jewish state. Second is that it is an area that's strategically very, very important. That's why the British and the French and the US and other countries have basically meddled in our affairs and tried to support Zionism to take it over, to divide the Arab world and create divide and conquer policies from the times they did Sykes-Picot Agreement in 1916 to divide up the at least the eastern part of the Arab world into states like Syria and Lebanon and Kuwait and Iraq and Jordan and Palestine. So that's why the Western governments were very interested in it. It's a crossroad of basically major seas, the Red Sea to the Mediterranean, and also a land bridge between Africa and Eurasia. That's actually where humans migrated out of Africa to the rest of the world. And also, a third reason I would say, and besides the geopolitical structure and the religious value, is to talk about its basically being very historically meaningful to all of humanity. After all, this is part of the Fertile Crescent, the western part of the Fertile Crescent, where humans developed agriculture, where we first domesticated plants and animals, and hence where we had the first civilizations, the first written alphabet, for example, which you still use today where you are. The ABC comes from us, from Aramaic. The evolution of numbers and mathematics and laws and sciences all happened in our region long before Greece, actually, and Egypt and so forth. It's all in the Fertile Crescent. That's the third reason why it's important globally. And the fourth reason it's important globally and has become more important globally is because of the timing aspects. The colonization is happening in the past 100 years. Is very unusually late for colonizers. As you know, colonization happened around the world in different countries including your countries that you are in. But it happened many centuries ago, and now this is happening now as we speak. Colonization, active colonization is happening, cannot be hidden. Active genocide is happening, cannot be hidden, thanks to social media and computers and internet and all of this stuff. Active ethnic cleansing is happening, home demolitions, removal of people, killing of children as we speak. So this is an overview of why this Nakba is something that you and everybody needs to pay attention to, because it could be also the Achilles heel of so-called Western civilization. I put quotes around that, because when Mahatma Gandhi was asked what did he think of Western civilization, he said, I think it will be a good idea. I think there is a problem here that is global, and you will feel it in your pocketbooks with inflation and gas prices soon. This war with Iran and potential nuclear war coming, with Pakistan, China, and Russia on one side, India and the US and Israel on the other side, and Europe, maybe NATO, split, part of it with us, part of it against us. This global war will have no winners. We will all be losers. Cockroaches maybe will be winners. They'll be feeding off of our dead bodies, basically. So I hope that we have enough people awakened to stop this mad dash for the edge of the cliff. So we'll see what happens, but hopefully we can stop this madness.
Thank you, Mazin. I know that you have had an incredibly busy day, and you're still going to be Zooming after this one. So I just want you to know that we're with you, and that we send you our love and gratitude for everything that you do every day to liberate the Palestinian people and all of us. We have as our next guest today, Hanna Suliman Namroti, who is a communications engineer from Old Askar Refugee Camp, a community activist, and Northern West Bank's camps coordinator within the Camp Improvement Project. She's dedicated to supporting the refugee communities through community initiatives, strategic planning, youth empowerment, and social development programs. And so we are very grateful that our friend Walla suggested that we have Hanna come and speak to us today. Please join me in welcoming Hanna Suliman Namroti.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. Thank you for joining us today. First, I would like to thank Judy for the invitation, and Wala, of course, for creating this opportunity to speak about an important part of Palestinian history and identity. My talk is titled From Jaffa to a Refugee Camp, a Palestinian story of memory, survival, and hope. Today, I want to share with you a personal story, my family's stories, and the story of many Palestinian refugees whose memories and experiences continue across generations. So, who am I? My name is Hanna Suliman Namroti. I am a Palestinian refugee from Old Askar Camp near Nablus. I am also a mother of two daughters, Nai and Kenz, who grow up sharing the same dream that lives inside me. To see the Sea of Jaffa, its streets, and its famous oranges. Like many Palestinians, my daughters grew up hearing stories about a place they have never seen. Sometimes they ask me what the sea looks like there, and whether one day we will be able to see it together. Although we have never lived in Java, it was always lived inside us through memory, stories, and identity. I was born in Old Askar Camp, but my story began long before I was born in the city of Jaffa. As a child, I grew up hearing stories from my grandparents about the sea, the markets, and the smell of oranges that filled the city every morning. They described a simple life where families knew each other, children played safely in the street, and people felt deeply connected to their homes and lands. My grandfather used to tell us how he used to drink coffee in the morning while listening to the sound of the sea. Life was not perfect, it was stable. People knew each other. People knew their land, their homes, and their communities. There was a strong feeling of belonging. Then came the 1948. In 1948, something changed my family's life forever. My grandfather used to say that something changed suddenly. Families left their homes, believing that they would return after only a few days, but those days becomes generations. Like more than 750,000 Palestinians, my family was forced to leave their home during the Nakba. Villages were destroyed, families were separated, ordinary people become refugees overnight. My grandmother carried the key of their home with her for the rest of her life. Even years later, she still held into it because for her, it was never just a key. It was memory, identity, and hope. As Palestinians, we do not see the Nakba as something that belongs only to the past. For us, Nakba lives in family stories, in refugee camps, and in the feeling of belonging to a place many of us have never seen, but never stopped loving. My grandfather did not speak about it as a history. He spoke about it as a memory he lived through a life that was taken from him and from many others. And this is why, for me, the 1948 is not just a date in a book. It is a story passed to me from my grandfather, to my father, to me, and now I carry it forward to tell my daughters. What is the Nakba for me? The Nakba is that day when a mother was separated from her child because of the intensity of the events. It is that day when a woman lost her jewelry because she believed she would return home after only 2 days. Nakba is the day when a father watched his infant son being killed in front of his eyes. It is the day when mother carried a pillow, thinking she was holding her newborn baby who was not even 2 days old. The Nakba is not just a date in history. It is a moment of loss, fear, and displacement that changed the lives of entire people forever. It is the day when homes become memories and keys become symbols of return that still have no end. It is the silence that followed the sound of departure. And it is the story that did not end in the 1948 because its echoes are still alive today in every displaced family and in every memory passed from one generation to another. This short sense from the Palestinian series, Al Palestiniya, reflects emotions and memories that many Palestinian families still carry today. For many Palestinian families, these emotions are not only part of the past, they are still part of everyday life. This is why every year on the 15th of May, Palestinians commemorate the Nakba not only through marches and events, but also through memory itself, by telling stories to the children, preserving old photographs, carrying the keys of lost homes, and keeping the names of the villages alive. After the Nakba, after leaving Jaffa, my family moved through different places until they finally settled in Old Askar Camp in the West Bank. That is where my life began. When people hear the word refugee camp, they often imagine temporary tents. But for Palestinians, refugee camps become places where generations were born and raised. I grew up in a narrow streets filled with people, noise, and life. Families lived very close to one another, and daily life was often difficult. Electricity cuts, limited water, overcrowding, unemployment, and poverty were all part of our everyday reality. But this is not the whole story. What I remember most is the strong sense of community. Neighbors supported one another. Families shared what little they had, and children still found ways to laugh, play, and dream. Education was very important for families in the camp, even during the difficult times. Parents encouraged their children to study because they believed education was the one thing nobody could take away from us. I came from a family of 10 members. My father was a physics teacher. My mother dedicated her life to raising us and to supporting our education despite all the challenges we faced. Today, the results of their sacrifices can be seen in our family. We now have 2 doctors, 4 engineers, and 2 teachers. Each one of us carries a different story shaped by the camp, by struggle, by hope. And today I'm here to share my story. Growing up in the camp shaped who am I today. It taught me resilience, patience, responsibility, and the importance of community. Seeing these realities every day pushed me toward community work. I realized that even if we can't immediately change the political reality, we can still create hope and improve people's daily life. I refused to let the camp define my limits. Instead, become the reason I dedicated my life to supporting refugee communities. Today, I work on initiatives that support our heritage. I help support and preserve heritage in the camps by keeping traditions alive, sharing cultural knowledge, and strengthening the community identity. I work in education because I believe learning is the strongest tool for change. I work with women early, supporting their participation and leadership in the community. I support children as they learn, grow, and prepare for a better future. I help young people find opportunities, build their skills, and become a source of positive change in the refugee camp and the role models for others. We also focus in persons with disabilities, making sure they are included and supported. In addition, work in strategic planning and community activities that aim to strengthen social development inside the camps and develop a CIP, a camp improvement plan in each camp. All of this work comes from a very personal place. It is not just a job for me. It is a responsibility I feel toward my community and my people. Today, I continue this journey with the hope of creating real positive change, even through small steps within the place I call home. Currently, I am seeking a master's scholarship in international relations to continue this path and strengthen my ability to serve refugee communities more effectively. I also continuously searching for support to sustain and expand community initiatives across different camps. I remain open to cooperate and partnership with various organizations and institutions to provide the needed support. My personal and academic journey is closely shaped by the reality of Palestinian refugees, growing up in camps that were meant to be temporary, but still exist more than 78 years after the Nakba. Today, Palestinians continue to face displacement, instability, and hardship, yet they persist with remarkable resilience, learning, working, and rebuilding life, while holding firmly to their identity, culture, and the right of return. Even in the face of ongoing violence, the aftermath of the war on Gaza since October 2023, the message remains clear. We will not leave. Our roots are deeper than your destruction. For us, the Nakba is not a number. It is a lived reality that continues across generations. We do not want to be seen only as victims, but as human beings who continue to learn, to create, love, and rebuild life with dignity despite everything. The older generations may pass away, but the memory, identity, and hope for justice live on through the younger generations. The Nakba is not only a story of loss, it is also a story of resilience, survival, and the belief that one day justice and peace will reveal. Thank you.
Thank you, Hannah, for that brilliant presentation. I don't think there's a dry eye here in this group. Thank you for a window into the incredible beauty of your family and your amazing resolve to keep it alive and well and growing. And I don't have words that are strong enough, to say what I want to say to you. It is just with the deepest respect for what you have done and what you carry and what you are doing for your community and your children. And that's why we're here, so I want you to take a moment to look into the screen, and for those of us who are on, just look at our faces loving you and honoring you and celebrating you. Because you are one awesome woman, and I appreciate you preparing that for us, because we would never be able to know, what it meant to you and your family so personally, and bear witness to such strength and courage that you have, and to know that there are these people that you're related to after all this suffering that are doctors and engineers and, and like you, just continuing to not give up and to support such positive growth and development right where you are in the midst of all this destruction. One of the things that Mazin always says is, they can destroy and we just keep building, because we will never give up. We will never leave this land. And so I honor you today on Nakba Day and your family. And I know now that we have a very special voice, this amazing voice of Elle Jones to share with us. Elle is a poet and a journalist and a professor and an activist. She was born in Wales and she's now living and teaching in Halifax, Nova Scotia. And she's an assistant professor at the Department of Political and Canadian Studies at St Vincent University. And she's received many awards for her poetry and writing. And one of her books she wrote is called Live from the Afrikan Resistance, a collection of poems about resisting white colonialism. So it's with great respect that I welcome Elle Jones today.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon or evening, wherever you are. I really want to extend my thank you so much to everyone from Palestine in particular coming today, giving time while having to be recalling and living with so much horror. So we really honor you. They want us defeated, removed and deleted, and then not to speak it. To expire tidily, go away quietly, primitive society, children of darkness, the law of the jungle, deserve to pull children from under the rubble. Every house is a tunnel where terrorists hide. Every child, every adult born as a crime. And so every death can be justified. And that's the language they use in all the headlines. A blast at the hospital. Palestinians died. Won't name who killed them, who fired the missile, and all done with weapons our taxes supplied, and that's why we say we won't call a ceasefire. Because we did the same thing to the colonized. In fact, they learned it from us in reserves we assigned and studied by South Africa to start apartheid. But the words that we use must be scrutinized. It's our language, they say, that is harmful and vile. And so the horrors and violence only told on one side. And so the oppressed must always qualify. Can't speak their own lives, must condemn and apologize, held collectively guilty in the Western world's eyes, human animals, they said, and dehumanized. And it's not even hidden, it's all in plain sight. You can hear their own words on the news every night. And so children are rendered collateral damage. While the world turns away and can't find the language, a problem, they say, that is meant to be managed, to be wiped off the map, to be bombed and then vanquished, pushed out to the desert until they just vanish. We said nothing about checkpoints or open-air prisons. Nothing about administrative detention for children, cement in the wells when the settlers move in, no water, electricity, cut off provisions, maximum damage, don't worry about precision, and no fighting back against the conditions. The story will only ever start with resistance. Why would they do this? They must all be villains. Why would they throw rocks? Must be their religion, inherently hateful. That's just their tradition. So we ship in more weapons for hundreds of billions, a cycle of violence consuming the innocents, and there's always a reason. They're all human shields, a depot for arms every hospital conceals, every mosque filled with fiends, every bakery. So it's not a war crime to cut off the meals, to cut off the feeds, to bomb all the exits. Say they caused their own death if anyone regrets it. A misfired rocket whenever the shells hit, blocked investigations and if evidence selective, just muddy the waters. Western media accepts it and all other stories not allowed to express it because they want Gaza defeated, erased and deleted, to take the seashore and inhabit the beaches, to mow down the olives and steal all the keys, to move in the houses as bold as they please, and they do it to you, and they did it to me. For generations, the wretched of the earth have been squeezed into ghettos and townships, reserves by decrees with the tanks and the courts and the bombs and police, while the law chips away degree by degree, and they say there's no option but to die on your knees while you ask nicely, please. Your existence is a blight to the powerful's ease, and they'll never play nice. Yet they say they've the right. Still they cannot suppress when oppressed people rise, and chant out free Palestine, shaking the skies, who cannot be cowed by the media's lies, and they'll say that our love is just hate in disguise. But there's so much solidarity that can't be denied, refusing their narrative of rule and divide as we call for the value of each human life. So we chant and we sing and we march side by side, and our voices cry out as our crowds grow in size. Long live Gaza! Long live Palestine! Thank you, everybody.
I see the chat is filled with thank you and gratitude, Elle, for your sharing and your solidarity. Okay, so it doesn't really matter what tradition we come from. I think most of us here know the power of love. And we know the power of a group of people that come together in prayer, in an intention to heal and to bless our world. It's always more than the group itself. It's an exponential blessing to the world. I totally believe that. So however you pray, in whatever tradition you pray, let's join together in our hearts and bless the Holy Land. Bless Hanna and her family. Bless Mazin and his family. Bless all the families in Gaza. Bless all of the families in the West Bank. May the villages be protected. May Gaza be protected. May there be a correction and a resurrection in the hearts of people in every country in this world to free Palestine. When Palestine is free, love will be awakened in this world like we have never experienced it before. We pray for the protection of Iran, of Jordan, of the people of Lebanon. We pray for the entire world to stop the violence. May love flow through every heart in this world. May this group intention be like a homeopathic dose of medicine for the world. May peace prevail. May love awaken the hearts of all humanity. May the truth be told. May these stories be shared. May the world's broken hearts open up more love in this world. May we all do our part to end the suffering of the Palestinian people, the people of Lebanon, the people of Iran, Iraq, everywhere that we have caused harm. Libya, may everyone, the Sudan, be free. May everyone in this call be strengthened to serve and love and be all that you are meant to be in this life. Thanks for being with us today.